During the past few weeks, we've learned a lot about the Magic Island. One thing we learned was that the island is called Euclidia. Now, however, this seems to be not altogether true, as the island itself is apparently only a small part of Euclidia. When Mrs. Gregory, Captain Bradford, Jerry Hall, and Joan Gregory returned to the island on this trip, they expected to stay for some time and learn as many as possible of the Euclidean secrets. On their arrival, they found the island deserted. One of the automatic elevators carried them down into the lower regions of a submerged mountain. We find them now in a room of polished steel, 200 feet below the surface of the South Pacific Ocean.
Well, here we are again.
Yes, Jerry, here we are again.
You should not say, here we are again. We have never been here before.
You're right enough, Joan. We've never been here before.
Well, maybe not in this room, but this is sure the third time we've come to this island.
And our prospects are a little more grim and hopeless each time we come.
Yeah, maybe we've come once too often.
That is bad grammar, but sound reasoning.
I'm inclined to agree with Jerry for once. If I'd had any idea we would run into a setup like this, I doubt if we would have left Los Angeles.
But, Tex, Joan had mentioned something of a larger colony she thought existed.
That is true, Captain Bradford. I did mention that, though I was very indefinite about it.
I'm not blaming you, Joan, but one of us certainly should have thought that the Euclideans would have a larger place in that island for the operations they were carrying on.
Well, I guess we can all think of a lot of smart things we could have done, now that it's too late. But we're here, and I think the best thing to do now is to figure how to get out of here.
You're right, Jerry. We knew we were taking chances when we came here.
Well, Joan, while you've never been in this undersea city of theirs before, you probably know more about it than the rest of us. What would you suggest?
That is very difficult to answer, Captain Bradford. I heard the Euclidean scientists mention the city below and Euclidia proper, and I felt somehow that there was much of Euclidia that I had not seen. But I have no definite knowledge with which to help you.
Well, why not quit talking about all the things that might help us if we only knew them, and talk about the things we know how to do?
Well, what would you suggest, Jerry?
Well, let's get out of this room and start looking around.
Do you know how to get out of this room?
Well, sure. Walk out.
Where is the door?
What? Huh? Oh, gee. There isn't a door in this room.
That's the first trouble.
There are probably a number of exits as G47 and Thales entered and left without any trouble. But to me, those steel panels all look exactly alike.
I think we would find it useless to attempt to leave until provisions are made for that.
Well, I'm getting tired of all that stuff. You can't even open a door until you get permission.
Take it easy, Jerry. Won't help anything to get all worked up over this.
After all, we did get ourselves into it.
Yeah, and didn't old G47 say we're to have our freedom here and not be locked up?
Precisely, Jerry. But it is possible our quarters are not prepared at the moment.
Yes, Joan, that may be it. At least I hope it is.
Well, why couldn't we go out and walk around this underground town or whatever it is? I don't see why we have to stay in here until they decide where we're going to sleep.
Maybe you, two took G47's invitation to look around too literally, Jerry. I'd say that while we apparently have our freedom and are allowed to go sightseeing as much as we like, there'll be several places we'll never see the inside of.
That is logical, Captain. G47 has probably gone to prepare the other Euclideans for our arrival. He will undoubtedly instruct them as to how much we are to be allowed to observe.
That's my idea, Joan.
Then our freedom of the city is to be in name only. Like those tours one may take in a forbidden country.
Well, we might as well stay home as go on that kind of a tour.
We are not likely to leave home now, Jerry. This is our home for all time.
No, Joan, it isn't quite that hopeless. After all, G47 has the same interest in science that the captain has. And many things can happen.
And I'll bet things will happen all right.
Be a relief to have them start.
Sounds like they've started.
What was that?
Over there, on the other side of the room, one of the steel panels flew open.
Sure did, and there's a light on in the room there.
Tex, isn't that my steamer trunk in that room?
Steamer trunk? Oh, let's go see.
But how could your steamer trunk, whatever that may be, get down here in Euclidia?
I can't imagine.
Well, at least we can hear ourselves walking now. Gee, I like to make noise when my feet hit the floor.
Well, that's something now, isn't it? Look at that room.
Oh, Tex, what an attractive little room. Like a stateroom on a fine ocean liner.
Mother, are those not your articles of clothing?
Yes, Joan. My things are as well laid out in this room as if a maid had cared for them.
Boy, and there's a wooden floor in here. Listen to this.
This is the most natural place I've seen since we left Los Angeles.
I never imagined such a room could be found in Euclidia.
Well, it looks like you're fixed up all right, Mrs. Gregory. Now, if the rest of us can find rooms like this, we'll be okay.
But how did my things get here so quickly?
I'd say that we weren't as much alone as we imagined when we came off the boat.
You are correct, Captain. The Euclideans must have removed all our possessions from the boat at once, as the island is now submerged.
Yeah, and it's been less than an hour since we landed. I wonder what they did with the boat.
Sounds like somebody else had a room ready for them.
I hope that's mine. Come on, let's see.
There is the open door, directly across the large circular chamber.
And I think I can see my instrument cases in there.
Well, come on, let's find out.
I believe we're going to find that we'll each have a room opening into this central chamber.
That would appear to be probable, Mother, and it will be most convenient.
I'll say it will. If we can all find a place to sleep, then all we have to worry about is where's the dining room.
Yes, sir, there we are. That's my room. And everything I had on the boat with me is in perfect order in the room.
There must be some point to all this service we're getting.
I think we will find many things done for our comfort, and we will enjoy ourselves for a certain period of time. And then, if the Euclideans have not secured from us the information they desire, our situation will change completely.
Yeah, and they'll kid us along for a while and get rough about it.
That's about it. But we'll be making some progress with our own plan.
Oh, another room is ready for one of us.
Oh, right beside this one.
This is your room, Jerry.
Sure is. And that bed looks mighty good to me. I'm going to get myself some sleep as soon as I find out where to eat.
Well, if we're going to be this well taken care of, surely some provision will be made for our meals.
Don't worry about that. We'll eat. But we have to do it whenever these Euclideans feel like feeding us.
Well, one thing's sure. It won't take us long to eat in this place. You don't lose much time when you swallow a pill for dinner.
That should be my apartment.
Yes, Joan, dear, there it is, next to mine.
Come on, Joan. Let's go look at it.
There is nothing to see that we have not seen in the other rooms.
You're sensible, Joan. No use running all over looking at these things.
I feel a little like Jerry does about it. Even though we may not understand all that's being done and haven't any way of knowing what the ultimate answer will be, it's all very interesting.
And I'm hungry.
Sounded like another door opening somewhere.
It was, and look, Tex, look.
Say, that is something.
It is indeed something.
Well, golly whiskers. Joan, will you pinch me?
No need, Jerry. You're awake and really seeing it.
Ouch! Hey, what's the idea?
Did you not say to pinch you?
Oh, yes, but I didn't mean it.
What did I tell you about saying things you do not mean, Jerry?
Oh, you tell me so much that I never know what...
Here, you two. This is no time to start an argument.
No, it certainly isn't. Tex, will you give me your arm?
With pleasure, Pat.
Joan, may I have the honor of taking you in to dinner?
Oh, Jerry, you speak so nicely when you want to.
Oh, sure.
What a beautiful dining table.
And it's loaded with food.
I hope this keeps up.
I believe we may depend on that.
This seems to be the head of the table, Tex. Will you do the honors?
Indeed, I will.
Will you look at the porterhouse steak?
Not much like the pills you're worried about eating, is it?
I'll say it isn't. Mrs. Gregory, will you have...
Tex, look.
What's the matter, Pat?
Well, nothing. I mean, nothing to be alarmed about, but look at this.
The silver, you mean?
Yes.
It is very beautiful, is it not?
Sure is. But what are you so excited about, Mrs. Gregory?
Oh, you wouldn't know, Jerry. You couldn't know. But I'm surprised that Tex didn't see it.
Mother, I believe I know what you mean. The silver is exactly like yours in your home in Los Angeles.
What?
Is it, Mrs. Gregory?
Well, it's more than that, Jerry. It is my silver.
Yours?
Are you sure, Pat?
Yes. And this is my table linen. Tex, my entire table
Oh,
service.
gee whiz. How could that happen?
I believe that the visitor who went through your home while we were locked in the radio room spent more time in various parts of the house than we noticed.
No doubt of it, Joan. One of those Euclideans took everything out of your mother's house that he thought she would want for a long stay on the island.
And that sounds like those men are mighty sure we're going to make a long stay.
Yes. There's something horribly final about it when you find that your personal possessions have been brought over 4,000 miles without your knowledge.
As I tried to explain to all of you in Los Angeles, I felt that our arrival on Euclidia would be the end of all communication with the world for us. And now I am convinced that such is the case.
Oh, now, cheer up. If this is the sort of treatment we're going to have all the time, we can't complain much.
Well, I'll say we can't. And I'm hungry. Let's eat.
Yes, we may as well do that. Why, these rolls are hot, just as if they'd come out of the oven this instant. And yet, why, we've been here for several minutes.
Well, that's not startling, Pat, if you'll notice that each bread plate is a small electric grill.
Boy, it sure is. And that's why this steak has kept so hot. Oh, boy. Is this good?
Jerry, is it your custom to speak while you are eating?
Well, sorry, But when you expect to be handed a pill for your dinner and somebody brings you a steak that's kept sizzling hot, it's hard to remember your manners.
Oh, I know that, Jerry. But we must try very hard to preserve our composure and maintain all of our standards in the face of everything.
This food is really very excellent, is it not?
I don't know when I've tasted a meal I enjoyed more. Imagine sitting down to dinner in a polished metal dining room, 200 feet below the ocean, and finding your own table service waiting for you.
I wonder what happens when we're through eating.
This will probably disappear just as suddenly as it appeared.
Well, I hope they give us time to get out of this room before that steel door slams shut again.
Yes, I'd rather sleep over in that stateroom of mine than on one of these hard metal chairs.
Captain Bradford.
What?
Behind you.
Huh? Oh,
Well,
I thought this was too blame good to last.
well, G47, I suppose we have you to thank for this?
You have, though your thanks would mean nothing.
Nevertheless, we extend them.
Do we take care of this stuff, or does it go away like it got here?
The facilities for your meals will be at your disposal at stated intervals. You will have 1,800 seconds in which to complete each meal and leave this room.
We eat on time and when and what you tell us to eat, huh?
Precisely.
When may we begin our tour of Euclidia?
Tomorrow morning, you will find the main passageway open. You may proceed through the city as you will, and I might suggest that you take every advantage of the comfort and security offered you. Adapt yourselves to this method of living, as you will remain here for the rest of your lives.
Far below the surface of the South Pacific Ocean, the Gregory party have spent their first night in Euclidia, the hidden city of the Euclidean scientists. Mrs. Gregory, her young daughter Joan, Captain Bradford, and Jerry Hall found very fine quarters assigned to them in the Euclidean city. They also found a splendid dinner served with Mrs. Gregory's own table linen and silver. They have just finished breakfast, which appeared mysteriously at the right moment. As we find them now, our four adventuring friends are seated around the breakfast table, discussing their plans for the day.
No, thanks. I couldn't eat another bite.
I'm sure I couldn't, Jerry.
Well, I think we all did very well for ourselves at this breakfast.
I agree with you, Mother. For people who have as much to fear in the future as we have, the present is indeed kind to us.
Oh, I don't think we've got so much to fear, but I'll bet we've got plenty to see. For one thing, I'd like to see where all this food comes from.
Just what I was going to say, Jerry. I'd formed the opinion that Euclideans existed entirely on those condensed food tablets.
Sure doesn't look much like that now. Fresh milk, fresh butter, and last night all those fresh vegetables. That's a different story from the way we lived up inside that island.
I think we may safely explore outside our quarters now, Captain Bradford.
Yes, Tex. I'm anxious to get started myself.
Yeah, me too.
Looks like that's the pleasure of the meeting, then. Let's go.
Well, where do we start?
I would suggest we start by finding an outer door.
Yes, Joan, dear. We'll have to leave this large room or group of rooms if we're going to get anywhere.
No, all we need is a door.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'll get some heavy wraps for Joan and myself.
Well, you won't need them, Mrs. Gregory.
But if we're going outside,
Mother, where do you think outside will be? Have you forgotten that we are 200 feet below the level of the ocean?
Oh, yes.
I'm afraid you slipped a little there, Pat. Outdoors is very liable to be the same as indoors in this place.
Oh, sure it will. No matter where we go, we'll still be inside this underwater city.
I think we will find the door to the outer corridor is over there.
What makes you think that, Joan?
Our sleeping quarters and the dining room occupy nearly all of the other sides. That should be the outer door.
Well, it won't take long to find out. Come on.
And if one of these panels does prove to be the door, we still have the fun of opening it.
Joan and I got a lot of doors open once just by... Hey, look.
Yes, Jerry. Another of the voice-controlled doors.
And this is the beginning of another series of weird experiences, I suppose.
Looks like it, Pat. But remember that these Euclideans are human, just as we are. If they can stand it, so can we.
Well, here we are, back in our disappearing hall again.
Yes, there is the elevator shaft through which we came.
And now our steps make no sound.
More of the soundproofing. We'll just have to learn to take that sort of thing for granted and not lose any time speculating on it, or we'll spend all our time doing that.
Well, where do we go first?
I think we should continue along this corridor until we see something of interest.
Then we've gone far enough now.
Yes, it's all interesting, but I'd prefer to see something a little different for a change. Let's keep on walking.
Looks like our tunnel splits up pretty soon.
So it does, Jerry. Just ahead there are two corridors.
Well, I guess we can choose the one we want to use. G47 said we could go anywhere we wanted to.
Isn't this floor sloping sharply downward?
I'll say it is. Feels like we're walking downhill.
G47 said this was the highest level of the ocean floor city. We may have to descend some distance before we find anything worthy of our inspection.
At least we'll have to go on down until we find a doorway to use getting out of this tunnel.
Oh, here's the dividing line. Which way do we go?
Well, there's no way of deciding that I can see. If any of you have any preference, I'll gladly go with you.
Makes no difference to me.
I got it. Let's split up and try both of these tunnels.
Excellent, Jerry. You and I will take one side and Mother and Captain Bradford the other.
No, I'd prefer we stayed together, Joan.
Oh, gee, Mrs. Gregory. Nothing's going to happen to us. Old G47 said we'd be safe, didn't he?
Yes, if he can be depended on.
I think G47 does not have to trouble himself to the extent of telling anything other than the truth.
I suppose you're right. Our position is so obviously hopeless that none of the Euclideans would even bother to deceive us.
Then you'll let Joan and me go on a sightseeing tour of our own?
Please, Mother.
What do you think, Tex?
Oh, I don't see where there's anything going to hurt them. I'd say let the youngsters go, but set a time to meet us back at our own quarters.
Very well. But understand, Joan, and you, Jerry, that you're to come back to our own quarters in... how long, Tex?
Why not make it noon? I suppose they'll serve our lunch at noon, won't they, Joan?
I think so, exactly at 12 noon.
Okay, then. We'll meet you back here at noon. Come on, Joan.
We will be prompt. Have no fear of that, Mother.
Well, see that you are, Joan. I'll worry if you're late.
And don't ask too many questions. Try to keep out of the way as much as possible.
Aye, aye, Skipper. Well, here we go again, Joan.
I wonder if you and I will ever be able to sit down and enjoy one thing at a time, Jerry.
Well, what's the matter now?
Every moment since you came to Euclidia, we have been exploring this or searching for that or looking for something else. Are we to spend the rest of our lives in corridors, looking for things always just beyond our reach?
Well, golly whiskers, Joan. We've got to find out all we can about this Euclidia place.
Why must we do it all so quickly? We will have ample time during our stay here.
Oh, I know. You think we're going to be kept here until I've got a long gray beard that I keep falling over every time I take a step. But we won't be. We got away from here 3 times, and we can do it again.
We got away from the island. It is not such a simple matter to escape from this place, I think.
Oh, maybe not. But let's stop worrying about that and see what we can see.
I do not find this long tube of polished metal very interesting.
Well, I do. For one thing, we're going down pretty fast, and we've been walking fast. I wonder how far down we can go.
We will be here long enough to learn the answer.
Well, stop talking like that, Joan. We're not doing so bad.
Badly.
All right, then. Badly, we're not doing so.
That is not correct.
I know it, but who cares? Now, forget crying about how long we're going to be here, and let's try to learn something.
A most excellent idea.
Gee whiz.
The commander.
Precisely.
Hey, where did you come from?
If your eyes were as active as your tongue, you would have noticed that I merely opened a panel in this wall and stepped into the corridor with you.
Well, why don't you make a little noise once in a while when you do those things?
Sound is a useless disturbance where silence will serve.
Is it permitted to ask questions, Commander?
Naturally. You may ask as many questions as you wish.
Will we get any answers?
That will depend entirely on the questions.
Where are we in relation to the main portion of the underwater city?
We are just above it. A few steps along this passageway will bring you to the main entrance. You are free to proceed there if you wish.
Come on, Joan. Let's go.
One moment, Jerry.
Now, what's the matter?
There is one other question I should like to ask the commander.
Well, looks like you're too late.
Jerry, she has gone.
Just as quickly as she popped up, she popped out again.
Then let us proceed.
Okay. Let's also get going.
Jerry, why must
never
you...
mind starting that grammar lesson again. I want to see what's behind that main entrance door the commander was talking about.
Nevertheless, I think my question was important.
What was it?
I wanted to ask the commander if the Euclidean living quarters were also along this corridor. If not, then what manner of room was it out of which she appeared?
Well, I guess we'll find all that out when the time comes. But let's keep walking to that main gate.
That blank wall directly before us must be the entrance.
Yeah, everything here's a blank wall.
Do you see anything with which to open it?
Not a thing. But I guess we can just... Oh, that's funny.
What is funny, Jerry?
That blank wall. Why, a minute ago I could have reached out and touched it. And now it's way up there ahead of us again.
I think you are mistaken, Jerry. That must be an illusion.
Maybe, but the joke's on that wall if it is, because the wall moved, and it's still moving.
Now, Jerry...
Now, see for yourself. We're walking all the time, aren't we?
To be sure we are.
And the wall's keeping ahead of us, isn't it?
At least we do not approach it rapidly.
Yeah, then the wall's going away from us.
But why should the wall do that?
Don't ask me why things happen in this funny place. All I want to do is to get through a door, and I can't even catch the blame thing.
Jerry.
Yeah?
I think I know how the illusion is being created.
How?
Our descent is so rapid, the angle of this floor so sharp, that what we supposed to be the end of the corridor was in reality part of the ceiling.
Oh, I guess you're right. This thing does slope down pretty fast. Boy, we must be a long way under the ocean now.
And I believe we are nearly to that door.
That girl commander sure has wild ideas about how many steps there are in a few.
You are impatient.
Okay, I'm impatient. But just the same, I want to get someplace.
Then your hope is about to be fulfilled.
Looks like it now, all right, Joan. If that isn't a solid wall in front of us, then I never saw one.
I think we may safely enter.
No danger of running into electricity in this door?
The commander said we were free to use this doorway.
Yeah, we're free to use it, but she didn't say anything about what would happen to us if we did use it.
Now, Jerry, you are being, as you say about me, scared of everything.
Well, I'll show you a thing or two. Well, maybe I will if I can find out where to take hold of this door.
Press upon it.
I am pressing. Yeah, it moves up. Look, Joan, I'm just barely touching it with my hand. Just pushing up a little, and the whole end of the corridor is going right straight up.
Oh, Jerry, look! Away down there on the floor of this cavern.
Gee whiz, Joan. Oh, boy! Golly, whiskers! Oh, boy!
We will go down and see it.
Why, Joan, this is the biggest thing I ever saw in my life.
I believe it is the largest spectacle of its kind in the world. Never have I heard anyone describe anything of such magnitude.
Yeah, it's big, too. You remember I told you about the Carlsbad Caverns, those big caves in New Mexico back home?
Yes, Jerry, but were they as large as this?
They don't even start to be as big as this. Why, Joan, that place down there, that room, I guess you'd call it, must be a mile across.
Easily that, Jerry, and it is half that in height.
Look at the light shining on those hanging things. I can never remember what they're called.
Those are stalactites. The lower ones are stalagmites.
Oh, I thought you said you'd never seen them before.
I have not, but I have learned about them.
Well, so have I, but that doesn't help me much when I try to remember what kind hang from the ceiling and which kind pile up from the floor.
The stalactites are suspended from the ceiling.
Remember that so you can tell me again, will you? I forget it. Boy, what a room this is.
Yes, Jerry. It is impressive. And I believe I see the entrances to similar rooms on all sides.
Sure looks like it, Joan. This thing we're standing on is a balcony, a steel balcony built around this end of the cave. And we're pretty near halfway up the side and... Hey, Joan. Joan!
What is it, Jerry? You are hurting my arm.
Oh, sorry, but I got excited. Look down on the floor of this cave, right under us.
Yes. I do not understand what it is you wish me to observe.
Trees. Green grass and big trees growing in this cave under the ocean. We must be 300 feet down by now.
At least 300 feet below the surface of the water.
Now I know where they got all of that fresh cream and butter and fresh vegetables. There's cows down there, Joan. Cows and pastures and green grass and trees.
I see them. Is that so unexpected?
Now, look, Joan, don't act like that. You know as well as I do that green grass and trees don't grow like that in a dark cave under the water. They've got to have sunlight and fresh air.
This would seem to prove that you are wrong, Jerry. You can see the green vegetation, and you can see the cows, and you have eaten fresh vegetables, milk, cream, and butter that obviously came from here. Sometime I hope to make you realize that on Euclidia, things which cannot be done